What's up, world? We had another episode of Garage Talks. I'm your host, Desmond Reynolds, aka the Peacekeeper. We sitting here tonight, another late night episode. Got a great guest coming in today. So it's a great young man at the University of Oregon. Got a lot to share. Can't wait to introduce you right now. Jaeden, what's up, my guy?
Man, how's it going? Thanks for having me, man.
Always,
Thank
man.
you.
Always.
Thank you.
I guess we can start with, man, Jaeden, what you about? Where you from? What you doing?
I'm from Aliquippa, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It's a suburb about 30 miles west of Pittsburgh. So it's safe to say I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was actually born there, and then from age 2, my family moved to Aliquippa. So Aliquippa is what I know. Aliquippa is where I'm from. Aliquippa is where I was raised. And if you don't know where that is, if you watch the NFL and you've ever heard of guys like Darrelle Revis, Mike Ditka, Ty Law, which are NFL Hall of Famers, I came from the same road, same street, same place, literally. So about 6,000, 7,000 of us, and we're all we know. So a little small town, Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. That's where I'm from.
That's what's up. I remember when we started talking, you were telling me that because meeting at the barbershop. I mean, that was dope just a couple weeks ago. What'd I say? Oh yeah, Taylor Swift, ain't she from Pennsylvania too?
I think Taylor Swift, if I can remember correctly, she's from like Eastern Pennsylvania, but she's from like a town called like West Reading. So there's Reading, Pennsylvania, which is a little bit of a bigger city, but it's not as big as Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. But there's like a suburb of like west of Reading, PA. It's called West Reading. Oh, okay. So and that's where she's from. Yeah,
that's what's up. That's what's up. So how was life for you in Pennsylvania? How's life growing up and everything?
Life in Pennsylvania, for the most part, it was pretty good. For me, I grew up, I was adopted. So yeah, at one point in time from, birth to age 1, probably 1.5, I was a foster child. I was in the foster system. Didn't really know much about it, but I kind of have a little bit of remembrance of it. Like my mom who adopted me, taking me to see my biological mom and everything. And so life, it was pretty good. Whenever I moved to Aliquippa, we were sheltered, had a pretty good life. I had a single mom who worked 2 jobs. I had a bunch of older siblings. So, she worked 2 jobs. She could afford to kind of be off or be out and about, more hours of the day because she worked 2 jobs to put food on the table. And, I had a bunch of older siblings. I had 2 older brothers and I had 6 older sisters. Oh, okay. So like, when I was born and my 3 younger sisters were born after me, it was almost like one older sibling could watch one younger sibling kind of thing. For the most part, growing up, I was pretty sheltered. My mom worked extremely, extremely hard to get us everything we wanted. So I mean, I had an all right life. Some difficulties, not growing up with a father, but for the most part, my mom, my grandma, they just did everything they could to take care of my siblings and I, and my cousins and I, whenever they came over.
That's what's up, man. See, I grew up as an only child, and I love what you just said because I really realized what my parents, what they did for me, how hard they worked, no matter how hard the struggle was. And if you can recognize, you know how they say real recognize real.
Absolutely.
I saw their hard work, and man, I tell you, even reflecting back, it's like, man, seeing everything they went through just so you can have a good life or a better life than them. That's key, man. I mean, that's such a sacrifice. It's huge, man. And I see that from you. I know when we met, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I saw something, and now hearing that, it's like, there we go.
Yeah, man. And I just try to be mindful of everywhere I go, and I try to pay attention to places like the barbershop, which I'm actually really glad that I met you there. But, 2 years ago, we'll get into that, I'm sure. But 2 years ago, I actually came to Eugene for a semester. I followed my heart. I wanted to come to the University of Oregon, and I just did whatever I could by any means necessary of getting here. And, one of the first places I wanted to go to experience the culture of being in Eugene was going to the barbershop. And just meeting different people, and just, that's where I go to because I want to hear some stories. I want to hear something about people and what's their why and who are they, because I know people are going to want to know like where I come from and want to learn more about me. So naturally, I gravitate towards wanting to learn more about them.
And shout out to Brian at Blessings, man. Brian, shout out to you. Man. That's my guy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Brian actually was I went through a few barbers in 2021. Just trying to figure out, what was affordable for me because life in Pennsylvania, everything is a lot cheaper. Yeah, it is.
Do you guys have sales tax out there?
We do.
Okay.
If you're in Allegheny County, which is where Pittsburgh is, I think it's 7%. And if you're in Beaver County, which is the one over, which is where I grew up, I think it's 6%. So, I mean, but everything is cheaper there. It's like very, very cheap.
So even with sales tax, you're saying it's still cheaper than like when you come out to Oregon.
Absolutely. And one thing, and the one thing I noticed in Oregon is like, it's similar to Alaska because I've been to Alaska on vacation, and the price you see is the price you get. For a lot of things that you do. Whereas like in Pennsylvania, things are actually a little bit cheaper because of that sales tax. Where I don't have a car out here, so I don't really pay attention to gas or anything. But in Pennsylvania, where I live, gas is about $3.50, $3.60. With COVID, it's gone up to about probably $3.70, but it kind of fluctuates there. In Ohio, it's about $3.10, but before COVID, it was about $2.80, $2.90 a gallon. So, I have a cousin that lives in Vancouver, and he's like, "Man, you moving out here, $10 don't spend the same." So,
it don't, man. It don't. 50s feel like 20s.
Man, I'm telling you,
man. Going back a little bit with you being adopted, how did you really hone in on finding yourself and really? I mean, because I feel like you got a real good grasp on yourself. I got to know, like, how'd you do that? What's the secret?
So, when I was younger, I thought life was good. I thought, my mom who adopted me, shout out to my mom, you know who you are. I wouldn't have been able to do it without you, Anita. You're my mama. And, but just growing up, she never told us because we were young, we were babies, we didn't really know anything. It really wouldn't have made too much of a difference the way life was flowing, going to school. So, and I just remember, I guess one day, I was just like in the car, riding in the back seat, and she like parked the car, and she like told me to come up to the front, and she was like, I guess she got off the phone, and then she had told me, she was like, "Hey, can I tell you something?"
How old were you, John?
I was 11 years old. I think it was like right before my 11th birthday. She told me, and she was like, "Hey, I just want to tell you something, just so you know, since you're young, and you probably won't understand it now, but you will definitely understand it later. And I have to tell you because, in our family, we preach honesty. That's just what we live by. Honesty. And I was like, what is it, Mom? Like, what is it? And she was like, I just wanted to let you know, like, you're adopted. And I was like, what? What does that mean? What does that mean to be adopted? And then she was just like, so biologically, by blood, you're not my son, but you're my son because like law allowed you to be adopted. You were a foster child. I know who your mom is. I know who your biological siblings are. I literally picked you up from the hospital. You were born premature. We got to come visit you. Your family got to come visit you. We got to take you from the hospital to go visit your family. But you were adopted. We knew you were going to be adopted before you were even born. And that's pretty much, when the court and when, the law allows you to get your name changed because, you're in our family. I'm bringing you home. I'm your mom. I'm your caretaker. And I remember the first time she told me, I remember everything just getting so blurry. And as soon as she told me that, like, I cried for the first time because I was like, didn't understand what that was. See, where I went to elementary school, most individuals, when your first day of school, you get that white phone card slip. You have to write your name, your contact information to give to the teacher.
Okay, yeah,
just in case you cut up, or just like in the emergency thing, they have to be able to call your parents. And most of my friends, their parents weren't married or anything, but when I noticed, like when they would cut up and the teacher would say, "Hey, what's your mom's name? What's your dad's name? Say that for me." And they said it, their mom and dad had similar last names, or one of them took after their mom or dad, and where I only had my mom. So, not really having a dad, not really understanding like what the term adopted meant, I just broke down and cried, because at 11 years old, it taught me, it just told me, like, do I need to figure myself out? Who am I? So I actually battled with a lot of identity issues and who I was, like, growing up as a child, because of that.
Yeah, emotions are strong, man. So you didn't understand it, but your emotions are running. That's a powerful thing.
And now that I look at it in the future, now even today at 23, I'm like so thankful that she did that. And she was absolutely right about saying, you might not understand it now, but you'll definitely understand it when you're older. Somehow, some way, you're going to understand it.
Man, and that's, Jay, I mean, I'm just thinking that's something I was so curious about you with, and that's why you're going to be unstoppable, bro. I mean, straight up, from me to you, you're going to be unstoppable, because you're conquering that, and you fought one of the hardest battles in your life. Who knows what's to come down the road, but dude, seriously, that's huge, man.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you, especially coming from you, man. You're an inspiration.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. For real. You conquered that, and you're fighting it. Man, I try to put myself in your shoes, and it's unimaginable. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't,
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, man.
That's deep, man. That's deep. Gosh, so you did that. Man, so I gotta ask, growing up in Pennsylvania, how I know sports is a big thing to you. I mean, football, obviously now you're at UFO, gonna be playing football. What was sports like in Pennsylvania for you? How was that time with sports? You did football and wrestling?
Yes, I actually played 4 sports growing up. I did football, wrestling, I ran track and field, and I played baseball. And my mom kept us busy, and that's the one thing I can say I'm grateful for her, working 2-3 jobs, and just having older brothers that I followed after. Like, I was a hothead. I was kind of reckless, never in trouble, or never got into serious trouble, but anything my older brothers did, I always like to follow after them, because I am their little brother. So but like, they did that. They ran track and field. They played baseball. They did football and wrestling. And me being the third and the youngest one, I did all 4 sports just like them.
That's what's up.
Sports in Pennsylvania, especially Western Pennsylvania, it's just like Texas. Texas is just like California. It's religion. It's literally like religion. And like I said, shout out to Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. That's my home. It's really rough growing up there and being from there, but I wouldn't be the man I am today. I wouldn't be the dream chaser and the goal accomplisher that I am today if it wasn't for the people of Aliquippa, the city of Aliquippa, and just coming from there. And but in Aliquippa, it is grimy, it is gritty.
It's cold.
It's just Pennsylvania in general. It's cold, but the hardships, like Aliquippa is a very difficult place to grow up in, and it stands alone, compared to all the other towns that surround it in terms of Pittsburgh suburbs. Aliquippa is, it sits right on the bank of the Ohio River. So I always tell people, like, there's 3 rivers that, 2 of them that kind of merge with Pittsburgh, and then one that kind of goes from the bottom of Pittsburgh to, through Ohio to the Ohio River. I live right on the bank of the Ohio River. Aliquippa's tough, man. There's a lot of crime there. A lot of drugs. My city is plagued with drugs, plagued with crime. And then, like, the education system is just not the best. And the reason because of that is because, back in the 1960s, 1970s, even the 80s, it was a steel town. We had a steel mill that ran from Aliquippa all the way to the city of Pittsburgh. There's a bunch of steel mills there today. That's how, it became known as the steel town. and where the Pittsburgh Steelers get their name from, because, they made an economic impact off of the foundation of steel.
Gotcha.
And so Aliquippa was a steel town. It was a steel city that, had families move there, and you could make an amazing life. But it blew up. It had to be shut down, and people packed up and left.
Wow.
And
what blew up the
steel mill?
Oh, it did.
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
And so when it shut down, when they had to shut it down, people packed up and they moved and they left. And most people stayed behind. Or crazy. People that really couldn't afford to like stay in Pittsburgh or live anywhere else, they moved back to Aliquippa because it was cheaper. So now we don't have a steel mill there, and all we have is football stars.
Yeah, shoot, it produced. I mean, all the stars you were telling me about, it produced definitely. Mm-hmm. So I mean, so you saying with the crime and the drugs and all that, it's real easy to fall off your path. There is what you're telling me.
Yes, 100%. 100%, without a doubt. And just like being a part of Aliquippa, like I said, earlier, shout out to Darrell Revis, Ty Law, Mike Ditka, Sean Gilbert, Jonathan Baldwin, Tony Dorsett, the Heisman, who went to Pitt.
Yes.
So, they'll be the first people to tell you. And those aren't, they're celebrities. They're, Hall of Famers that perfected their craft and made their names known in the NFL. But they are, just people to us when they come through the city of Aliquippa. They literally walk the streets just like us.
Yeah.
They eat at the same diners that we eat at.
Right.
They went to the same church that we go to. Yeah. And, they're just in the neighborhood, kicking it with us. And they'll be the first people to tell you, just a tough place to grow up. And,
so it's easy. You could have easily got stuck there too.
Yes, 100%. And there's just some athletes to this day, some people that I grew up watching play the game of football, play basketball that should be playing overseas or should be on a professional team, NFL, XFL, wherever. But, that's just what happens when you fall into that, But I've seen some unreal talent from Aliquippa. Like we call them hometown legends, local legends, 100%. Because, they did some amazing things on the field for us in Aliquippa, but they just, unfortunately weren't able to like leave.
Yeah, it's tough, man. You definitely got to break barriers, some curses out there for sure. I feel you. That's how I feel sometimes. It's like, man, the world has so much to offer, and it's like, man, you got to take that leap of faith and just really get out. Speaking of, obviously you're here in Oregon now. You got the bag next to you. You took that leap of faith.
Yes.
You're out here. You said, if I remember right, you said you just leaped in. You didn't know where you were going to land, but you made it.
Mm-hmm. So growing up, Aliquippa, the one thing that they teach us most of the time, and you can ask some of the players, you can ask coaches, they'll be the first to tell you from their days when they were playing football. Most parents, most people, like residents of Aliquippa, they believe that you're not going to make it out of Aliquippa if you aren't playing a sport. Like if you're not very, very good at your sport, you don't have a chance of making it out of Aliquippa. And somebody like me who didn't really have the talents as most people, didn't have the natural genetics, the size, the strength, and, the well-known resume or, the name to, get the opportunities early. It kind of hurt because it's like I always considered myself to be like a smart guy in the classroom. I took a lot of pride in going to school. So like hearing that, you only had to play sports most of the time to make it out.
Right.
It's kind of tough. It kind of like lowers your confidence a little bit.
Oh,
man.
Little bit. Yeah. Well, that's that. Yet again, that's those curses. People who unfortunately don't, and I mean this with all respect, but who didn't make it out per se. That's just their mindset. And it's tough when they're handing it down to younger generations. Like, hey, you're just going to fall in this cycle. You're just going to fall in this cycle. It's like, man, I want to break the cycle. I want to do something different.
Right.
Like I want to follow my heart.
And yes, sports played a huge part in me getting out here. But I just remember when I was in the classroom, I always, wanted to go to a college, a very, very smart college. And I looked at it like this. I live in the Atlantic Northeast because I live in Pennsylvania. There's people that live in Florida. There's people that live in Southern California. Like that's 4 different corners of the United States. And I always said, hey, if I'm living here in the Northeast, what's life like for the people in the Northwest? And then as I got older, I, fell in love with the city of Seattle. I fell in love with Portland. I always could see myself making a life out there at a young age. And, went to school, played hard-nosed football, was pretty mediocre. Most people at home would consider me talented. Didn't have the genetics, or I didn't dominate the game, but I played decent football.
For sure.
And I just wanted to take a chance on myself, and I wanted to try to walk on and play for either the Oregon Ducks or the Washington Huskies. It was my dream to attend either school. I'll never put one over the other. And I just pretty much said, hey, like whichever one I get accepted into first, I was going. And I got accepted into Oregon. Had an opportunity to meet some people and connect with some people before I even got accepted. And transferred out here. And I'm here now.
How was that feeling to just know you got accepted? You got to run me by that. I didn't go to college, but to know, hey, Oregon accepted you. What was that reaction like?
My heart dropped because coming out of high school, I always knew I wanted to come out here. But there's some family things that kind of happened, which kind of like derailed my confidence a little bit. But it ended up having me settle for a small school at home at first. And then I just didn't feel like it was home. So I transferred to another school. And then that didn't feel like home. So then after applying and then getting in, I just thought to myself, I said, hey, is this real? I can't believe it. And then, one of the guidance counselors or the admissions counselors called me and was like, this is real. Like, you're in.
What a blessing.
And your letter will be there in 2 days. And I was like, I won't believe it until I see this letter.
Right.
And then the letter showed up at my doorstep that, that I had the opportunity to go. And I remember seeing it. And I don't live with my mom anymore, but I ran all the way down to my mom's house, kicked the door in, and was like, Mom, like I got in. I was like just crying, screaming at the top of my lungs, woke everybody up in the house. And and it was just like the best feeling ever. Like, can't even describe it, man.
And that was back in 2020 or 21?
That was back in 2020 when I got accepted, and then I came in 2021.
You came in 2021. Gosh, that is awesome, man. That's so cool, man. How did you adjust to the difference out here compared to, because like me, I always say, for me real quick, I switched high schools, and that was crazy to me. Like, I went to a whole new high school where I didn't know nobody. I always tell people, I'm like, that's wild. How was it for you leaving there, coming all the way out over here? Was it just, it felt like home right away, or was it kind of just weird?
It didn't necessarily feel like home. It felt like something that was different, but I knew it was something that I always wanted. Because in high school, based on academics alone and different programs like ROTC, accelerated learning, because, I was in a bunch of honors classes, I jumped different schools. So I was always a student of Aliquippa, but I was taking classes at different schools. I went to Ambridge for the honors program, and then I got into JROTC, and so I was able to go there and study for a little bit. And then whenever I came home, like Aliquippa was just difficult for me to learn in. It could be difficult to learn there because the education system is one of the worst in the state, honestly speaking. And a lot of people be able to attest to that. And so, like, I just wanted better for myself. So I ended up going to a different school my junior and senior year that the academics and the rigor was very difficult. I ended up going to Central Valley. I ended up moving there and going there after one of my cousins that passed away that I was very close to. But I had moved to 3 different high schools, and then I kind of felt my college career taking the same way, because deep in my heart, I felt like I wasn't home. I wasn't at a place where I felt like I was comfortable. So after moving different high schools and moving different colleges and, coming all the way out to Oregon, I adjusted really well because I knew it was like a place that I really wanted to be. And I knew I had experienced a similar process, like similar to high school.
You were battle tested. You literally were battle tested. That's what's up, man. Man, so sitting with you at Thanksgiving having food, which the food was amazing, by the way.
Yes, it was, man.
Talking about the podcast now that you know what the goal is, trials and tribulations, life, what you come from, what keeps you motivated. I know you share that epic sports story and life story with me. You mind just running that back and telling me about exactly how you got this going with sports?
Okay, so yeah, ever since I was younger, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just like following around my brothers all the time.
Mhm.
I just developed a huge love for sports.
Yeah.
I watched my brothers play in high school or in youth in a high school, and I played at such a very young age at 3 years old. I
Okay.
used to just follow them around all the time and watch them play in high school. And then unfortunately, like they gave it up, to pursue other things, but they pushed that in me. My mom pushed that in me as well. And so I remember at one point in time, and this is going to be like a funny fact, like a fun fact, but a funny fact is that
We here for it.
I could quote, like I could sing every single fight song on NCAA, every college fight song, NCAA 05. At that point in time when I was young, my favorite football player on in NCAA was Larry Fitzgerald. He wore number 1, and he actually went to the University of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And just like we used to play that game, like
Just
religiously. Just like it was religiously. Like they taught me how to play on the GameCube, and then that's how I got better at Xbox. But that's where I first developed like a love for sports, and then from then it was just up. Like I played ever since I was 3 years old. But I was decent in high school. I was injured 8th grade year, 9th grade year, 10th grade year I played a little bit and I was injured, and then my junior year I was injured too. And then really the only year that I really had like a successful year of football was my senior year of high school, due to battling so many injuries. My freshman year I broke my leg I played football for Team USA. I was the running back. The starting running back. We were preparing against to play for Canada, or to play against Canada. And I broke my left leg. I was a starting running back, so I missed my entire freshman year.
Is that the one you told me at dinner when they cut off the tape? The blood just all start flowing and it swelled up?
The way it looked like my mom was like, "Oh, you're fine, get up." They brought her down to the
put
field.
some dirt on it.
But as soon as they cut the spat off my foot, and just like my entire leg swelled up, so they knew it was broken. And then my sophomore year, I had 2 grade 2 AC separations in both of my shoulders. You can still see the bumps to this day. The bones on my shoulder. And then junior year, I had broke my hands. Just playing football, and then my senior year, led the conference in interceptions all the way up until my last game. There was a guy that beat me out for the number 1 spot. We didn't make playoffs, so I got honorable mention by default, but I had the single season record for 6 interceptions in a single season.
Wow.
And I didn't have any offers coming out of high school, so I settled for Division III. I went to Division III to wrestle. Sustained some injuries there and ended up retiring from the sport. But I was good enough to still play ball. And so I still wanted to take that chance on going to college. And so after transferring my second school, I just didn't like it. I was unhappy with the location and just being in Pennsylvania. So I just transferred to the University of Oregon in 2021, and I just wanted to walk on. So I would work out, get in the gym every single day. They didn't have walk-on trials because we were in the COVID pandemic. And so like it was literally every man for themselves. And every Division I university was guaranteed to have a walk-on tryout in the spring and in the fall. So when COVID hit, everything kind of got screwed up. And so they weren't really promising athletes, especially at the University of Oregon, walk-on tryouts. So if you were going to get something, you had to really like get it by any means necessary. You had to do whatever you could. And so I was just training the whole spring term, and I was going to Walmart actually. I was just like walked out of my dorm. I was getting ready to go meet the Uber to go to Walmart. And I walked past Hayward Field by the track and field. There's these rec fields right by it. And I saw 4 individuals working there. One of them went to the NFL. One transferred to Auburn. And then the other 2 are still playing at University of Oregon now. They're both seniors. They're actually about to graduate. DJ James Jr., Mikael Wright, Triquez Bridges, and Jamal Hill. all four of them I love oh so very much, and I'm just thankful for them. But this is why this is about to be crazy. Like, you're gonna be like, wow. And so, like, while I'm on my way to Walmart, I walk past them and I see them training, and I had to do a double take, and I'm older than all of them by a year. Maybe one of them that were the same age, and I was like, hey, would you mind if I get a workout in with you? Like, I'm desperately trying to make the team, and I'm at an unfair advantage because of COVID. They don't have walk-on tryouts. I can't do it the traditional way. I can't really pay for school, so I'm just really trying to make my dreams come true because I don't know what's going to happen from here on out.
Wow.
And they said,
laid it out for them.
Yeah, and they said, you know what? You seem super cool. You seem super chill. Like, come work out with us. At first, they were like, no. And then when I went to leave, they were like, if you got cleats, come work out with us. And so, ran in my dorm. I sprinted to my dorm. It was literally like a couple 100 feet from the field. Grabbed my cleats, went out, trained. And they asked me to do every drill that they wanted me to do, whether it was backpedaling, going through the ladders, working on my hips, doing one-on-ones with them. And, at the end of the drill, DJ James was like, gosh, dang, boy, where are you from? Like, where are you from? Seriously, like, you got some feet, boy. Like, and I said, I'm from a little city outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Like, football's a religion in Western PA. Like, I'm just here grinding for my family, for my people there. And then Triquez Bridges and Jamal Hill, they were like, wow, like, you're like really good for somebody who just is out here fooling around. Like, we're going to hit up Matt Neuer, who's the director of football operations. Now he's still there. We're going to hit him up, and we're going to try to say something about you because you're just different from anybody, any other person here. Right. And then Mikael Wright, we don't really talk as much because I know he's busy in the XFL. He tried his hand at the NFL, and then he was an undrafted free agent, and now he plays for he plays in the XFL. He's the one that gave word of mouth with the other three to a guy named Kwame Adjaman, who was the senior recruiting analyst or the senior defensive analyst at Oregon. And I went home for the summer, just working at home, working a full-time job. And then I got the call from him and a follow from him on Twitter, and he was like, come out. Like, or we might need to bring you into camp. Like, you proved yourself. Are you ready? Have you been working? And I didn't believe it. And I was like, are you, like, I was being so honest with him. I was like, are you like effing with me, bro? Because this is serious. I know they have this thing where they fake, coaches, people pretend to be coaches and message people and do it as a joke. And he was like, nah, I'm pretty real. And I could see why you would think that. And so he said, I want to bring you in and train. I want to bring you in with us and work out and blah, blah, blah. But I just have to get the okay.
So Jay, real quick, let me jump in with you to give us some context. So you're saying after all that, you went home and you were working just a normal 9-to-5 job, just doing that.
Because it was summer.
It was summer. And then he reached out to you. Okay, I'm just making
and
sure.
And said, we want to bring you in for the fall.
Shoot.
So,
I would have ran out those doors.
So are you ready? And I ran back from my house to my mom's house, kicked the door in again, and was like, hey, Mom, the dream might be coming true. And, so unfortunately, based on COVID, they just didn't have any other spots. But, that just went to show you that my hard work was working. And something was like, they had said something about because it was unfair for you not to be able to come in the fall. You're going to be like a priority in the spring because, you just have to work hard. All you have to do is wait till the spring. And so when I went back to school for the fall term in 2021, something had just got mixed up with my family's credit and school. And I just wasn't able to pay for school anymore. So I got sent back home to Oregon, and then in Pennsylvania from all of 2022, all of 2020, the rest of 2021, all of 2022, and then all like the first half of 2023. That's where I remained, was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's where I remained. I was there. I went, I was gone. And I remember just being so devastated that I had to go home. Like, I was so close to getting everything that I could have wanted, walking on, being a part of the student athlete culture, earning my spot, because at this point I earned that opportunity when the coach, when coach followed me, and I earned that. and I was unable to pay for it. The coaching staff had split up in 2022. Half of them went to Miami, half of them went to Nevada.
Oh, okay.
And I just got a phone call from like a number, and I picked up, and he was like, "Hey, I hope you remember me from Oregon. I'm now the defensive coordinator at Nevada. If you can figure out your finances, you have a spot with me at Nevada, like, and I'm officially offering you a preferred walk-on." And so, like, when I heard that, like, I broke down and cried, because although I couldn't take that opportunity because I couldn't afford school, that was the literal proof that my hard work, my faith, me believing in God, me not being afraid to take that risk and network and meet new people, I earned that opportunity. I can officially say that I'm a Division I athlete because of that. You know, I received my first, not just a D3 or D2 offer. I didn't get anything like that. That was my first ever offer ever in my life, was that preferred walk-on to go play for the Nevada Wolfpack. And, you know, he's still there. This is his second year. So shout out to Kwame Adjaman. I love you to death. I appreciate you just being a mentor, being a brother, you know, just being a role model. You know, you're a huge role model in my life. And so, yeah, after that, you know, I tried to work really hard to get to school, to get to Nevada. And in February of 2022, before I could go out, after I had made a decent amount of money, I had got hurt at work. I worked at Lowe's, and I had to have surgery on my hands. So I had to learn how to use my hands all over again. And that process was rough. And after 6 to 8 months, I finally was able to get another job, and I got a job as a ramp agent at the airport. I was working my way up to be a supervisor, pulling in 80-hour weeks, just grinding, making stupid buku money.
Oh yeah.
And then
that's like a solid job. That's like
it's a really good job, actually. Like, and if I always told myself, if I'm not like in my field, I would definitely work that with like a degree, put money, you know, pay bills and put food on the table. And so in February, March of 2023, after working there for about 5-6 months, I suffered a hip injury at the job. Like, now I'd already been battling with this hip injury since I was a kid, since I was younger, but I knew I could play with it. But, you know, when I was lifting heavy loads, heavy bags and everything, like, my body was just giving up on me. It was failing me at the time. So I actually had to have another surgery, which I had 2 days after my birthday in April. So most, you know,
what day is your birthday?
April 15th. So 3 days. So I spent it I had surgery on the 18th, which is funny because from age 18 to 23, I only remember celebrating one of my birthdays healthy. You know, 2 of my birthdays were in COVID, and I was actually in the dorm where I was isolated. And then 2 of my birthdays, I was injured. I was in a sling. In 2022 and 2023, I was in a hip brace learning how to walk again. And it took me 2.5 months to learn how to walk again. And so unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to Nevada and play, but I'm still in touch with him because he's a big brother to me.
For sure.
I just remember my mental health just declining, you know, just having to reset twice, you know, losing out on not being able to go to your dream school anymore, to going home, to almost being able to go back to having a reset because you had a life-changing surgery, learning how to use your hands. And then you had another life-changing surgery. Now you have to learn how to use your legs all over again.
Learning to walk.
So like my mental health was declining.
So how did you, what motivated you? What kept you going? Because you're going way up here, getting dropped down, coming way back up. How did you get through that, man?
And I can't even tell you, like, honest to God truth. Because of like the unbearable pain that I had to endure both times from the surgery, and then just like losing out on the opportunity to be with the ones that I loved out here. Like, I felt like God had actually gave me friends and support, something that I felt like I lacked in the classroom when I was younger. He had gave me exactly what I was asking for out here, and having to turn all that away and go back home, you know, that really took a mental toll on me, and my mental health was declining. I was becoming more and more depressed about things, and you know, I failed. Like I was at a point in time in my life where I was at pit's end. I wanted my life to be over. I wanted it to end, and I just remember saying something about it, or just like saying that I had felt like this was the best option, and somebody had overheard it, when I was at work. They called one of my family members. One of my family members that called my personal trainer, Coach Cradell. I love you. You're the reason why I do this, D Brown. I'm thankful for you. And they called them and they just said, hey, like, check on him. He's having a really hard time recovering. And then they called me they called a couple of my professors, my support staff that I was in contact with at Oregon, and they all reached out. And it got all the way to the attention span of a former NFL lineman who graduated from the University of Oregon. His name is Tyrell Crosby.
Oh, yep.
And
heard that name.
And he's like a big brother to me today. Tyrell, when you watch this, just know I love you and I'm thankful for you. You're my big brother. But he reached out and he's been with me every step of the way, helping me return back to college to get back on track. Since my mental health decline and just battling the emotions and everything, he's been there to lift me up. So humans aren't perfect, and it just takes something to really bring somebody to their knees. And I can admit that all the times that I was strong, like that was the first true time that I felt like I wasn't, was after my second surgery and not getting into school. And thank God for people like him, Coach Kwam, my personal trainers, my mom. They were just able to like lift me up. Because I wasn't able to lift myself up. And that was the very first time in my life that I wasn't able to lift myself up.
Physically and emotionally and mentally.
And so, and how did I deal with that? Once they told me you're going to be okay, you're going to find a way to recover from this, I got right back on my feet, and I praise God for like him sending angels pretty much. Those are angels in disguise, like every single one of them. And they're all used for a particular story. And they, I think God used them to save my life, because where I was headed, I wasn't sure if I was going to be alive come end of 2022. And then I for sure thought I wasn't going to be alive, in the early stages of 2023, when I was learning how to walk again. I didn't even want to leave my house. I didn't even want to do the therapy because I was just at ends with it. And so I just thank God for, him sending people to pick me up. So if it wasn't for the people lifting me up when I couldn't lift myself up, I wouldn't. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive I wouldn't be here today.
So Jay, man, I think of this analogy I always use. It took me years to hear this one, but do you know when a ship is rusting, like an actual ship that goes in the ocean, it's rusting the most when it's just docked and it's just sitting there? It took me years.
I didn't even know that.
It took me years to really.
Can you explain that a little bit more for me?
So when a ship is just sitting at the docks and just chilling for X amount of time, that's when it rusts the most. Now the crazy part is it's the opposite when it's out in the ocean sailing and going through the sea. And I couldn't help but keep thinking about that with you. So every time you was going back home, and hey, don't get me wrong, no place like home,
Absolutely.
Home. But man, you built to be out in sea, flowing in life, and you knew that, and you didn't give it up, Jay. That's key, man. Because if you would have just stayed at home, you start rusting. You're breaking down physically, mentally, spiritually. Everything's breaking down because deep down where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be out changing the world, whether it's football, the character you have, the heart you have. You're supposed to be out there doing it, man.
And shout out to my friend Taylor. Her and her family, just like, man, she was there for 2 years when she witnessed everything that was happening, and she like never left my side. And she's like a real amazing friend. Like God sent her as a great friend, and she's a family friend to this day. And I'm just thankful for her, so God really sent people to really like be in my circle, and they just were there to help pick me up, because there were people in my life, like when they saw me leave Oregon and go back home for the first time, like, and they saw like where my mind was and the type of lifestyle that I was kind of almost getting into, because I was just like becoming more and more depressed. I started hanging out late. Not necessarily was I doing anything, but I was just hanging out late, coming in at 4 a.m.
Places
like instead of being in the house on the video games relaxing, I'm out with my older friends, just not where I'm supposed to be. And that's whenever, like, the first time my mom and my family and my sisters, they really knew that something was up with me. Like they really knew that, okay, something's going on. Like there's really something going on with him. And all my friends kind of knew. So I really thank God for all my friends that were here that I met in Oregon that never left my side too. You know, because there was a lot of people that made me reap like the things that I was getting into and made me live with what I did. And that opened my eyes too.
Straight up.
But I thank God for the people that didn't leave me. They knew at heart that like that wasn't the life that I wanted to live. The decisions that I was making weren't the decisions that I wanted to make. And that like they knew I was always good and I was chasing something. They just knew that I was going through something.
Yeah, because they knew you wasn't. They just knew when somebody got hurt like you ain't supposed to just be stuck. You're supposed to be out there. Like I said, back to that analogy, you're supposed to be out there, man. So I'm so glad, I'm so grateful that you have that, man. And we wouldn't have crossed paths if you would have stayed back over there.
Man. I appreciate that, man. See, I'm just grateful for every single person that I meet.
You know, I would have been sick, man. I would have never crossed paths with you. Now we're sitting here on the podcast doing this. It's deep, man. That's deep.
Appreciate it.
Deep. That's some patches. I like those patches.
Just showing love. It's a blessing, and hopefully I can get the next one when it comes out, and hopefully when the next one comes out, my dreams of being able to end as a senior on the field and ending my football career in the right way, because I sustained a ton of injuries in my life. That's the thing that I'm looking forward to, is just trying to end it on the right note.
Can I ask you, what's your routine on injuries? Like, you getting hurt, you're getting injured, like rehabbing, are you eating well? Are you like, what is it? You getting your sleep? Like, what's the routine for Jaeden?
So pretty much just getting up in the morning, making sure I get a good breakfast. I try to take care of my body as far as like eating. Thank God I have really good health insurance because I take care of that. But I think the injuries really came at a young age because I wasn't eating enough. And then I used to wrestle, so I used to stunt my growth a lot. You have to cut weight, so I wasn't able to maximize my size and potential. So whenever I was, it's not that I couldn't take the hits. I was the ones usually just dealing out the punishment and, hitting people, but my body just couldn't withstand it. And, breaking legs and separating shoulders, breaking hands, breaking arms, and, having hip surgery, having hand surgery. So it was just like, I just every time I dealt punishment, it's like the punishment was hitting me tenfold. So, but this is the first time in years where I felt like I was at the best shape of my life. I'm the biggest I've ever been. I'm the strongest I've ever been. I'm benching the most I've ever been. Of course, with the hip surgery, I have a minor setback, but legs are stronger. Legs are bigger. I'm 185 pounds. That's the heaviest I've ever been in my life.
Dang, for real?
Yes.
Shoot, shout out. Shoot, man. I wish I could say that.
So it's looking good, and I feel really good about everything and how it's going. I just feel like healthier. I feel like me, and that just comes from eating now. And I wish I would have been eating when I was a kid. Who knows what I would have been? But
kids, you can have a Happy Meal and then go run 2 football games back to back.
Yeah, you're right. So I'm just glad that everything is slowed down for me to be able to look at it and process it internally, mentally, physically, and just like get a grip on it and allow it to take care of my body. So I have been rehabbing, doing pretty well with that. When I go home, I'm going to finish the final stages of my rehab over break.
Because that's the hip injury, right?
Yeah.
That whole hip
injury.
And
then hopefully in the spring, because I know way too many people on the inside of the walls of athletics. I have a ton of former teammates and friends that are still on the team that are graduating, a ton of relationships with NFL players that played here. Hopefully, I get my opportunity, because when I left, they did have a walk-on tryout, and I felt like everybody got their opportunity but me. And I felt like, honestly, I was wrongfully robbed of an opportunity that I had worked so hard for and that I had earned, and I only believe that I earned that because I did get that offer to go to Nevada from an Oregon coach, so, and
man,
now it's just time to make it do and end my career on an amazing note, so I can work on building a career and becoming a family man in the future.
Every day, keep going, man, because people are going to fall off left and right. You just got to stay consistent every single day, man.
Thank you.
key. It's so key. People look and say, "Oh, consistency." No, seriously, consistency, man. And I
Thank
know you know. Every single day, keep pursuing your dreams and go, go, go. Because remember, you stay dark. That's when the rust build up.
You're right.
You know,
Thank
that's
you.
facts, man.
Thank you.
Also, what I got from you is support system. Have some people around you that you can trust, that you believe in, that you're going to be at your lowest moments and they can pick you up.
I just want to say the last couple of people I wanted to say shout out to was Deb Morrison. When you watched this, man, like, I'm so grateful that you never left my side. You literally watched the person that I, changed into from the time when I walked in through the doors at Oregon in 2021 to me going home for 2 years and then thanking God, like, for him helping me find my way back here and getting enrolled in classes again. You've witnessed every single step. And shout out to Kelly Matthews for just like never leaving my side through it all. And I'm just thankful for all the connections with everybody that I've made in my classes for my first term back. This is actually my first term back.
Oh, from
being gone for 2 years. This is my first term back.
Okay.
Just a huge shout out to everyone. I feel so much older than everyone, but everyone welcomed me with open arms, and they're just like, hey, like, now we got to finish, and we're with you every step of the way.
It's go time.
It is. It's go time.
It's go time.
It's meal time. It's drill time.
Man. So what do you expect to accomplish in life, man?
Well, my answer is pretty simple. It's not like most people. Most people, they want the flashy cars. They probably want all the money. But for me, I just want to be a great man. I want to be a man who leads. I've always had dreams and desires of being a husband, being a father one day, and just being a person that leads by example and just helping other people, get to where they have to be. I just want to learn how to grow more in my faith, and that translates in. But first I have to take care of business. I have to, do the right things in the classroom. I have to study, just continue making the relationships with people in my community here in Eugene, my new community, making relationships with people in the classroom, forming new friendships, new bonds, and just keep seeking the opportunities that are being, pushed out to us. That's going to ultimately make the decision. And I just want to be an amazing man and just be a leader, someone who leads by example. And of course, I just want to be a football coach or something like that in the future. But I can't do any of that without God, and I can't do that without being like a leader or being a man who just wants to be an example for people, be the light. So.
Well, Jaeden, I appreciate having you, man, for real. Thank you. It means a lot having you on Garage Talks. And with that, world, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening in. Just a tremendous story, man. Trials, tribulations, how to conquer them, all the tools we need in life. And, remember, we all in this together. So this is Garage Talks 5417. Peacekeeper out. Bless up, y'all.